Indecisive Cinema, episode 33.
33 episodes, bro.
Hell yeah. I'm Jeremy Knight.
I'm Carlos Hernandez.
If we sound a little sleepy, it's because
I was going to say, we sound kind of sleepy. Yeah, I mean, I woke up at 8-something, but I think I could have used the extra 2 hours that you needed.
It's the only challenge is it's the Sunday mornings is when we record, and there's just some Sundays where you're like, oh, fuck. And that is what it is. But yeah, we're here. We're rested enough, I suppose.
Yeah, no,
I've got some coffee.
Yeah, we're drinking some of that coffee.
Made some coffee and some, what do you call these again? I'm going blank on the phrase.
Breakfast tacos.
Burritos.
Well, they're more like tacos, but yeah, she fills them good because Jeremy
delicious.
didn't even eat his third one. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm full. They were delicious.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I don't usually eat that much in the mornings because I got a sensitive tummy. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just don't eat that much. I usually don't eat till like 2 p.m. in the afternoon because I'm super healthy, you know.
You sound like my daughter. Gloriana doesn't eat breakfast, and then she just told me she doesn't eat lunch.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Right. We're like-minded spirits, apparently.
Probably.
Well, we've got a bunch of movies to talk about.
Yeah.
We had some trailers, but there was most of all of the commentary on it was oh man, that looks good. So we cut them out of the show and just talked about them before the podcast. But there's some good trailers out there, so go watch some trailers. But we've got so many movies though that we're just gonna get right into it. I think.
Yes.
The first one on the list is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which you've seen 15 minutes of.
I saw the first 15 minutes on a jacked fire stick.
That's funny though. There's like you said, there's like Bitcoin commercials.
So whoever jacks these fire sticks, obviously they're Ruski. So I mean, now the threat is real. They're in everywhere. So we were watching it, and it gets to the point where the little girl's about to get the book, and all of a sudden it cuts, and then you see like this guy running down the street, and there's like Russian words mixed with English words, and the only thing I recognized was Bitcoin. Oh. And the guy's running, and they're like, something. He goes, but he has Bitcoin. And then he goes to this thing, and he has this, like, money in his hand.
That's
and
so
I'm like,
strange.
What the hell? And then it cuts back to the movie, and I'm like, what the?
Where do you get a jacked fire stick?
There's a woman in her mother's complex that sells them for $40. And so she bought it for me. She was, Daddy, you got to see it. We get to see all the movies. And my daughter is a Leo at heart, even though she's a Taurus. And she starts watching, and we couldn't find, she wanted to watch Child's Play. We couldn't find Child's Play. The Child's Play had the picture of the new one, but every time we played it was the original from 88. So finally she said, let's get Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I said, all right, let's do it. And we started watching it, we're getting into it, and then boom, there's a commercial. And I said, oh, well, maybe it's every 15 minutes. She goes, I can't do it. And she shut it off. I was like, all right.
Well, you're not missing much. No,
nice segue.
Let's open there.
Jeremy's got the segue.
Here's the thing. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is obviously based on a book series a beloved book series, one that I was a huge fan of as a kid.
Me too.
I was like in that like Goosebumps era where it was like, oh, this is like it's like actually kind of scary, and those like images and all the drawings are fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I've just always loved that series. I don't know, is it a series or is it a single book? I forget.
It was one giant book because Jeremy's talking about the 90s. In the 70s when I was a kid, my cousin gave it to me when I was like 8 years old. That was the worst thing he could ever do. So that's been around that long, yeah.
And they basically adapted it to film pretty accurately, I think, in terms of there's like, I forget how many of the stories that are in the actual film, but it's... Basically, I think that the plot line of the movie, at least, is that a bunch of kids break into. It's set like in the early 60s.
60s, yeah.
And they break into this like abandoned, either hospital or home. I think it's a home. Where this family used to keep this girl locked up in the basement, and she would write these stories, and people said, oh, it was written in blood and all this stuff, and so they break into the house and they find this book of her stories, and then the stories start coming to life. Yeah. Essentially, is the premise of the film, which is a perfectly fine frame story for essentially a series of short films, which is what this is.
Correct.
Similar to the story, the actual book itself, and it works enough to service kind of that structure, but I think at the same time it also kind of hurts the film at times because you're just waiting for the next thing to start. At times it's like, because the frame story is just so kind of generic, like spooky ghost story in a way that this is produced by
Guillermo del Toro.
And it's reminiscent of a lot of his movies, like The Orphanage or Crimson Peak or, what's the
Labyrinth?
Name? Pan's Labyrinth. More so, what's his like earlier, the one, it's got the
Kronos?
Kiddo. No, not Kronos. That's a vampire one. It was before that.
Mimic? No, wait.
No, it's on Criterion. It's got a picture of a little boy. It's in Spanish.
Oh, not The Orphanage. Oh crap! Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone. Yeah. It like reminds me a lot of that in terms of just like it's kind of a place that's haunted by the spirit of the and it works on like kind of a spooky little. But I think the challenge I have with it is what I described earlier, which is that it does feel like a series of short films kind of strung together by kind of a loose plot, which at times just kind of is like, all right, let's just get to the next one. Which is like it would almost work better as a series, I feel like, and that's kind of what I think it would work more effective. I get that the
like per episode, like each story, and
yeah, and I saw it with my brother, and a point that he made though is that there's a lot of the stories are just kind of like don't let the thing get you as well, which in terms of like just horror structure doesn't work after the third one. Like you're just kind of like what I will say though is I think it's made pretty well. It doesn't look like they really went all out with the budget. At times, like it's kind of looks like a TV movie.
Well, he wanted the practical effects more than the CGI. I think that's what he was shooting for.
I'm more talking about like the lighting. It feels a little flat, in a way that's kind of hard to describe. But like I think like if you see it with that idea in mind, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. Just like it looks kind of like TV in a way that I don't know. I don't know the specific way to describe it, but it's just it looks a little low budget, but it's still. The performances are really good despite the fact that they're a bunch of nobody actors. For overall, I think like the horror is done pretty effectively at times. But again, it does feel after like the first couple shorts, like it feels like it's just like, don't let the thing get you. And unfortunately, because of the structure of the plot, it's a little Final Destination in terms of like, you feel like there's no way these characters are getting out of this. And it just kind of like, and we were comparing it to It, which I think is really the most recent It, because it's a film that is about kids of the same age group, and it has a lot of kind of similar structure in terms of like these stories happen to individuals in the plot, and like occasionally it attempts to like make the stories relate to fears of theirs, and it doesn't quite commit to that. This is Scary Stories I'm talking about. Whereas It does that though. It like all the horror is tied directly to what these characters fear the most, and that's a lot more effective in regards to the horror we're seeing on screen. And there's a lot more depth to what we're watching other than just, oh no, that's a scary thing. And some of the setups feel very Final Destination in a way that's like don't eat the stew, and you're like, there's definitely some really stupid stuff in it.
Does that happen? Sometimes don't eat the stew.
Well, there's one called The Big Toe, which is a story from the series that opens with it. And so there's some silly stuff in it like that, but again, I think it's made with care, and it's not like this isn't a cash grab. It definitely sets up a sequel, which feels like one.
But there's more stories in the book,
which is fine. But it definitely I don't know that I care to. I don't know.
No, I got
it just felt so obviously a setup for a sequel. I don't know. I just hate when movies end that way, where it's like, what can we do next? And you're like, fuck, come on.
Don't eat the stew.
It's one thing to leave it open. It's another thing to like actually write like, all right, we're gonna in the next one we'll do this, and you're like, okay, Jesus. What do I gotta say next? I don't know. Like I said, it's made with care, though. It doesn't it doesn't feel cynical in the way that like some like Truth or Dare or some of those kind of Blumhouse stuff that we've seen recently, which just feels like, or all the like the Curse of Lenona or whatever, all the fucking Conjuring universe and all like it doesn't feel like just another sequel. It feels like it's trying to do something interesting. I just feel like it doesn't really know who it wants to be for. It doesn't quite commit to like a hard R rating. It doesn't quite. But it's also. I feel like it's like a little too slow for children to enjoy, or like kids, young kids, because the books were definitely aimed at younger generation. Yeah. I think not that adults don't enjoy them because the illustrations and stuff are great, but it just feels like even the casting is that's like younger casting. It's definitely aimed at a younger audience, but at the same time, like I just feel like a younger audience won't latch onto this because it's not. I don't know. Or maybe they will. I mean, reviews have been pretty good. I think people like this movie a lot. I think they're giving it a little too much credit. I think it's kind of by the numbers for most of it, but there is some interesting visuals. Again, I think the performances, considering they're like young children, I think the director, I'm going blank on his name, I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I forgot.
Did a pretty good job though. It's kind of like it reminds me of like a B movie like Hellfest. Did you see Hellfest?
No, but I want to.
That's a fun movie but now that's a hard R rating though. But it's just kind of like a carnival ride. It feels like it's definitely a B movie, like low budget.
Oh, it's the Andre Overdahl,
who I think produced the new Evil Dead or something like that. He's been involved in some of those.
Yeah. He also did the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh, that's right.
Troll Hunter,
which is way better. Okay,
I love the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Yeah.
Anyway, and that movie like builds tension really effectively. I feel like this doesn't. I don't even like the horror sequences, even the ones that are more effective. Like there's one in like a hospital. It's a red room type thing, and that, like it's in the trailer. Oh, that's the other problem is everything's in the trailer. By the way, so all the monsters are in the trailer.
Spoiler alert.
And so you even like the stuff that works. You're like, okay, I've seen that. I know what that is now. Or you have seen the trailer, and there's like those moments are memorable enough to where like when the plot gets there, you go, oh, somebody said red. Okay, that's where we're going. And there's also some really fucking annoying jump scares. Like it's just like can we just stop with where we are adding noises into the track? Like I'm so tired of it. Like it doesn't. It's just so lazy, and this movie doesn't need that. It doesn't. I think the horror premises are fun enough to not need those jump scares, but whatever. It's a mess, and it's just. My brother described it as aggressively mediocre. It's like I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't care. It's like it's like the biggest middle of the road movie, but it does try, and I have to give it credit for that because I don't feel like it's like. Cynical and evil, like a Alita Battle Angel or something like that.
Alita Battle Angel.
That's just like literally cashing in.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's fine. Let's talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because Carlos has seen it now.
All right, you sure? I thought we were going to leave for last. But we can do it.
We'll probably you can give your brief impression and then we'll probably do spoilers because...
Yeah, definitely spoilers. It came out a month ago. My impressions, you said? Not
just your initial impression.
We all know about
your
the movie.
Overall thoughts. Do you like it?
I liked it a lot. Okay. I mean, because I think I liked it maybe. Well, did you see it again or no?
I have. So that's
okay. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think more than you may have liked it the first time you saw it, but I'm not sure how your second viewing went. A lot of things you were saying. Hold on. A lot of things you were saying were true, but because I know you said that you felt like it wasn't linear in a way, and I disagree with that. I mean, there was a linear thing, and in Tarantino fashion with flashbacks, I mean, they were fine,
where
they went back.
Derivative than non-linear. I don't have a problem so much with the. Yeah. I mean, like Pulp Fiction's a great movie, and that's not a linear film.
No, that's not. Yeah.
Obviously, I think the character arcs are linear.
Yeah,
I agree with you there, but I just think there's scenes that definitely go in directions that didn't feel like they were going anywhere. Now, on second viewing, I think I take a lot of that back. I have a bunch of notes.
I thought you would.
Not because like I don't. I still think like this movie could lose 15 minutes and it would be better, more effective overall. But that being said,
and it's funny because I agree that there's a lull somewhere. I don't know where. It's like I have to see it again to find it because
it's not even like I don't think it's a particular moment in the film necessarily. It's more just like in individual scenes. It's a very quiet film, and this is what like I wrote in my notes. It's like and I think it was I don't know if I wrote it down, but Robbie Collin from BBC, he's a film critic that described it as like a movie that's set in a time period where time didn't matter. I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost like it's. Like it's a never-ending kind of golden hour almost. It's like this kind of just magical time period that Tarantino's like paying ode to that.
It's an homage to that.
And with that lens, seeing it again and knowing that that's what it's going for, I think it was more effective for me. And I think I really latched on to what it's trying to do a lot more. Yeah. And a lot of that's just because it's definitely not what you'd expect from a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Not that that's a good thing, if anything. I mean, but there's the Tarantino isms that I complained about the last time we talked about it. But overall, it's just, I think it's so different from what he's done. And so I wasn't expecting that.
Agreed, yeah.
And seeing it again, knowing what I was in for, I think it all felt a lot tighter to me. But anyway, let's get into spoilers now, though. So,
well, it's funny that before we do that, you know me, I'm a big fan of Watch Mojo, and it's funny because there were no spoilers in their list. They did the list of the top Tarantino films, but they did say something, and one of the kids said, he was like, oh, you know, it's cool that he made another Western without no one really knowing it. And it's funny because I was telling Ron, I was like, this can
I think he was very aware of that.
Yeah, and I was like, this is another Western, basically, because I think a third of the film is a Western because it takes place in this Western universe of TV. But yeah, I kind of dug that because, you know, and my father would have loved this movie. It's really cool with the old Western stars who dried up and had to go to Europe to make a time, like, and it's a nod to both Kurt Russell and that's, I want to get into that. And Clint Eastwood, obviously. But all right, go on. So let's do the spoilers, and I'm going to get into that thing because you said something.
I think that's a good
week.
Starting place, though. Yeah. So I think he was absolutely aware that he made a Western.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a Western for sure, and I think that's what's interesting about it is I like that you get a lot of different angles of that. Like, so what you described, which is like the falling star, these guys that in like the late 50s, mid 50s were producing like these kind of silly, you know, Western. Like what was it called? What was he a part of? What's the movie called in the show?
Martial law or something law? Oh my god, I can't believe it.
Yeah, something law.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's just like it's kind of a silly, like, you know, like what Rick Dalton is. You know, it's just I love all the shots of him like his shadow over like a guy that falls down and dies.
That was great. I love that. Yeah, that was cool.
It's you know all that stuff's fun. But then it also what's interesting is like the scene with Timothy Olyphant, like where they perform the scene and he fucks up the line. The first time I didn't like it, but the second time I loved it a lot more because I felt like it captures the filmmaking technique behind all this.
Exactly.
And not only that, but like the appreciation for what actors do. Like I think, and that's what this movie is very much an ode to kind of the Hollywood star or the dying of it.
The dying of the star,
you know, this was kind of a transition period before the Manson murders where LA was definitely driven by this star power. And, you know, Sharon Tate kind of represents somebody who got kind of lost in that. Like she was supposed to be that.
Yeah,
kind of like,
she was the it girl, the ingenue. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
But yeah, and I think it's because, you know, going historically, I think the Manson murders ended the 60s.
Exactly, absolutely.
And it went right into Easy Rider's Raging Bull, where you got all these dark films of the 70s, one of the greatest time periods of film. And I think it's funny that you just said that because I think instead of saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, it's kind of derivative, but I'm going to do it this way. And it's like the end of this like Hollywood system, you know, this big system that controls everything. And, you know, and then with this fairy tale, you know,
what you're describing is almost a bad thing, which isn't
no. Yeah,
it's
not
subjective,
at all.
Obviously, but you know, Tarantino, I feel like is looking at it from a standpoint of like he like a love for that era.
Oh no, yeah, of course, I'm not. Yeah, but I'm just saying that his love for it, because remember the biggest spoiler is that this is exactly that. It's a fairy tale. It's once upon a, because it ends perfectly. It just says once upon a time ... and then in Hollywood and I love it because Rhonda, you know, I love that you guys are the same age and not to blow my own horn. But Rhonda's 30, and she doesn't really know about the Manson murder. So she was kind of like, she was asking me at the end, she goes, oh, so then what happened after that? And I said, baby, nothing happened because that never happened. I said, this is, it's kind of bittersweet ending because I mean, you know, growing up, I mean,
what happened.
My father, I mean, you know, I love The Strangers, the film, for a reason because of the fact that it's a film that can be real. And Wise, when I was 8 years old, I remember that they showed Helter Skelter on television, and my mom was watching it. I remember I was kind of thrown up. I was young. I saw these images, but my father said, "Oh, you know what's scary about that? That it happened."
Yep.
And it was again. I tell you my whole story. My mom used to take us to movies because she was bored. She didn't know the ramifications of taking children to see horror films at a young age. Where she went to this like retro theater that was mostly a drug den. But the bottom line was, up until that point, about 4 years after starting to watch these horror films that ruined my childhood, my father said something that made me even scarier. He said, that happened. It's not monsters that are under the bed and they're fake. He said something, and that was what terrified me, that for Helter Skelter to this day, it's a TV movie, but it still scares me because, and it's even real. The whole thing, the Manson murders happened, and what they did to Sharon Tate, what they did to Abigail Folger, these are things that, I mean, we don't have to go into now, but it's like Rhonda didn't know. So Rhonda was like, oh, the fairy tale, because Rhonda's into Disney. She's into this, you know, moon pies and penny whistles. And she loved the movie. And I was like, I love the film too, but I think it ended kind of bittersweet because I said shit.
It's also kind of a tragedy because we know that that's not what happened.
That's not what happened, and that's sad. But I love that ending was amazing.
That's just definitely the high point of the movie, which is, I think in the theater I audibly said, "Oh, no fucking way."
I kept saying that. No way.
Yeah, the fucking flamethrower is one of the
that was the best part.
One of the great
the fact that would come back
when it comes back in the third act. It's like what is it? Is it not Occam's razor? What's the like filmmaking term for like the thing that you set up in the first act that you pay off in the third act?
And you're right. It's something
Occam's razor is something totally different. I forget what it is. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, it was the MacGuffin.
MacGuffin. Yeah, it's a screenwriting term. But yeah, I just think that was incredible and unexpected and very silly, and that was absolutely everything. I think it was also like Tarantino just like kind of saying the whole last scene is like somewhat a fuck you to all the people that say like movies shouldn't be violent and stuff like that.
No doubt.
It's like Tarantino has this pretty straight film, and then the last 5 minutes are just like horrible violence. But yeah, it's good.
I want to say this because she said it too. It was like because I'm not arguing. Rhonda was here. She left to make us to let us record, but she perked up at the whole Spawn Ranch scene. And let me tell you something.
Which is really good.
This is why I want Tarantino to make a horror film, real horror film, because that was so scary. Because I kept saying...
And even nothing really happens. But
the tension was amazing.
Brad Pitt is fantastic
in that scene, too. Yeah, he is.
He's so cool with his fucking slippers that he's wearing.
I'm jealous of him. The things that he did in this movie.
Well, I love it. And that's the other thing is while it's definitely an ode to like old school Hollywood and like stars and just like the way that time period, it's also totally an ode to stuntmen. And I love just the way that this movie portrays Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth, yeah.
The scene where he like jumps up on the roof is so fucking hilarious.
She was like, "Oh, I can't believe that." And she goes, "Oh, well, he's a stuntman." And I laughed. I said, "That's a parkour." But I guess
it's so ridiculous, but very fun. I also love the scene where it like shows the car jumping off the ramp, and then it like cuts this like Cliff. It just for like 3 seconds, and then it goes. There's some really like terrific moments in that regard. The scene where he beats up Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. Oh my god! At that point is when it hit me. I said, "Okay, once upon a time, it's a fairy tale. I get it now."
It's very silly.
Because there's a guy behind us who says bullshit in the theater.
It is bullshit, but Tarantino knows that.
Of course. And that's why I started laughing. And Rhonda, like I said, I love that Rhonda didn't even know till the end what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way Brad Pitt could beat up Bruce Lee.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
But the point of it is that like this stuntman could, and that's funny. Because Tarantino loves Bruce Lee. There's no question about that. He loves. I'm sure he loves martial arts films and all that stuff.
Kill Bill's an ode to that.
Exactly. So it's like.
But there's a couple of things you said last time too. Now, well, first off, I will say that Damian Lewis's Steve McQueen was fucking amazing, and when I see the film again, I want to just watch that scene just over and over again. But you said about the narrative plot point, I know her, and that's not bad.
I enjoyed it more the second time. Yeah, I enjoyed everything more the second time though.
But here's the thing, and I want to cut to Kurt Russell because Kurt Russell, even though he doesn't play stuntman Mike from the Grindhouse, Death Proof, but a character similar in tone. And it's funny because, you were talking about how you didn't like the narration, and I was kind of like...
It is odd.
It is, but I was saying this. I was like, at one point, right before he started narrating, I said, wait a minute. And I said, why is Leo DiCaprio playing Kurt Russell in this movie? And then when I'm looking at Brad Pitt, I said, wait a minute, did Quentin Tarantino do what John Carpenter did to Kurt when John Carpenter told Kurt, you're John Wayne in Escape from New York?
I don't know if my headset...
You for? Right.
Can't tell if we lost you or if I just lost the signal.
You can't hear me? Yeah, because I hear there's a little bit. Yeah, that's why you need
to static. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, but it's funny because that's what John Carpenter did when Kurt Russell asked for motivation for Escape from New York. He said, just do John Wayne. And if you look at The Thing, an masterpiece, underrated film, he's also doing a John Wayne character.
Is The Thing underrated though?
I mean, still on list. Like March Mojo jerks it off all the time, and I'm glad because it's one of my favorite films of all time. But then it's funny because they cut to this movie, and I'm like, is that what Tarantino did to them? Says, listen, you're Kurt Russell in this movie, and it made sense because both DiCaprio sounded like Kurt Russell, and both Brad Pitt at one point. That whole cool scene, I was like, oh my god, that's the bottom line. So when Kurt Russell narrates at the end, it made sense to me. I was like, oh, that's why. But I thought it was amazing. I know it is.
And I did tell you, though, that it felt like an homage to something that I didn't understand.
And that's what it was.
So,
that's basically what it was.
I said that I give it a pass for that reason. It's still off-putting, though, to somebody who doesn't get the bit.
Exactly. And it came out of nowhere. Because I was like...
And that's not necessarily a problem, though.
No. people who love Tarantino should know the cinema of cool, and cinema of cool includes Kurt Russell, and you should get it if you watch it. But anyway, but yeah, go on.
I mean, Kurt Russell's awesome. I have no
Oh yeah,
problem
he's
with him
amazing.
narrating
Even in
this
that
movie.
little bit in the movie,
It's just,
was funny.
he's only like in 2 scenes where he's narrating.
Yeah,
It's like there's like 2
yeah.
moments in the whole film where, but regardless, again, it's just, I
Zoe
think,
Bell was good too. I love Zoe Bell in the movie. She was
who
cute.
does she play?
She played Janet,
Oh,
the
the-
wife. Yeah.
Wait.
Kurt Russell's wife, Janet.
Oh yeah,
That she
She's like,
hated. She hated Brad
handle
Pitt.
this. It's like I'm handling
And he
it.
did the same thing. I love
Janet. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, because I think that one of the more interesting things in the movie that I described when I reviewed it, but I couldn't talk about without talking spoilers, which is the scene where Cliff maybe murdered his wife, maybe didn't. It's very
You're
interesting.
right. That never came back.
Well, but I think it's very intentional, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is the direction that the movie takes in terms of the character arc, dependent on what happens in that scene that we didn't see.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because it's like if he murdered her, right, then all this stuff, him like turning away the Manson girl and like having this loving relationship with his dog, and then like violently murder, I mean, to some degree murdering these kids at the end, even though obviously we know that they are guilty in real life, and so they're deserving of it in the film. Which people that don't make that argument are ridiculous. People that are like it's ridiculous that he murdered an innocent girl, and you're like, it's not the point. The point is that there are. It's like murdering Hitler. If he
exactly.
hadn't, it's like it's a fairy tale, like you said, and it's like but still. So what's interesting though is like if he didn't murder her, right, that character's almost more interesting, because he's a guy who his career is to somewhat been kind of stunted by the fact that like people think he murdered his wife, and if he didn't, that's very tragic in a way that is really interesting. So it's like I love that it doesn't answer that. I think that's a really unique element to this movie, that because Cliff is arguably the main character.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Obviously, Leo plays a massive role in it, and the movie is not told through either of their perspectives necessarily. So it's not that, it's not. I think they're both lead characters in this movie.
We'll see in January when the nominations put out, and if Leo gets Best Supporting Actor, that'll sum it up. Because I also felt that Brad Pitt was the lead in this film.
Because ultimately, the opening of the film though is that they're together.
Oh yeah, it's like Cisco, Sundance Kid, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Sure,
they're in the film equal amount of time.
Exactly.
But
then we follow Brad Pitt home at the end of it.
Yeah, that whole scene was definitely where he shined. The whole Spawn Ranch, the whole thing with the girl with Pussycat.
But we also spend equal time with Leo though after that. So
with the whole scene, which is an amazing scene. I love that scene because it talks about after he blows up, which I actually enjoyed that. And then he comes back and he does this like method acting thing with improv. And
which scene are you talking about?
Well, because you said that. Remember that you don't like the scene at first when he gets all mad and he fucks up his lines and he goes through it. But then after when he comes back,
said it was a long setup for that punchline.
And
but
there
again,
you go. I would trim a couple of seconds in the
I don't know that
dressing
you
room.
need to though, because again, it's also an ode to Western films and kind of how effective they can be, especially with good performances. So like I think it definitely. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just an odd scene because of the way it's structured, but that's not necessarily a problem either. So it's like,
but I think that's my favorite scene of Leo, because then he comes back and there's that amazing scene.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh man, if they nominate him for anything, it's going to be for that fucking scene alone, because that little girl kisses him. So, that's the
I love that line where he's like, sorry, I didn't hurt you when I threw you down.
Yeah, I know, that was amazing.
Like, no, I throw myself on the floor all the time.
It's
just fucking crazy lunatic girl. But I love all the scenes with the two of them too. Like that was something that like. I feel like this movie kind of lets these actors just like hang out in a way that in the first time I didn't enjoy that, but I think with the kind of lens of that era being again kind of a timeless era, I felt like even like I don't know, like the fact that like Leo's just like reading on set, like it almost represents. Robbie actually described it as like the times on set in between takes where you're just hanging out on set and fighting with Bruce Lee, and like it captures these great moments of like downtime that like almost doesn't exist anymore, I feel like, and that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed hanging out with these characters more the second time through, and I don't know, I really loved it the second time. So,
well, I'm glad you did, because I loved it the first time, and I definitely want to see it again. It's funny because they put this when they did their top list, 9, not top 10, but 9. It was above all the other films. So like it wasn't before the Django. I think Django came out, but it was before like Jackie Brown, Death Proof. So, and it's funny because I like it a little bit more than Django because I love Django. I love Hateful Eight.
Very different.
But they're very different films. But I did enjoy because you know me, I love Hollywood. I love film.
Sure.
But I love the behind the scenes too. I dig the
Yeah.
making of. I read books about the making of this film and that film, and it helps me enjoy the film and understand the craft. But I mean, it's like that was this. Like you said, it was his homage to you know this. Western star that dies off, has to go to Europe. But in there's a story that that builds up, and I enjoyed it. I think it's. You want to say favorite film? This is my favorite film of the year so far. I mean,
this has earned itself a spot on my list.
Definitely.
I don't know where it'll fall because there's. I mean, this has been a really good year so far.
Yeah, it has.
And I've seen. I'm trying to think if there's anything on this list that I think will be on there or not. Yep, there is actually. There's. The next film on our list, which I guess we can get to, Ready or Not, which is the latest, I guess it's a horror comedy from, I didn't write, I don't know if I even wrote notes for this, did I? Let me see.
It's a movie I want to see. Me and Gloria don't want to see it bad. So does Rhonda, so I can't wait. But yeah, it's
essentially the premise, which is the trailer. I think gives a little bit too much away.
Oh,
so
I'll
if you haven't seen the trailer, I would say avoid it. But I do think, anyway, the premise is that there's a new bride that's being welcomed into this kind of wealthy family, and she finds out that every member, in order to become a member of the family, on their wedding night has to play a game, right? Mm-hmm. And these games, as we know from the trailer, sometimes result in bad consequences. And in this case, she pulls this card, and it's hide and seek is the game. And she's told to go hide somewhere in the house, and the family members look very clearly upset by the fact that she pulled that card, and then essentially the family is tasked with murdering her for an unknown reason, and I won't go into any of that.
Yeah, good.
Cool. And so it becomes kind of a hide and seek. Horror film, but it's definitely a comedy, and I think the trailer portrays that. So, it's like a few minutes and they murder somebody by accident, and you immediately know, they're like, oh fuck, it's just very, very. It played for comedy, and I think. I don't even know where to start with this one. So I had a really fucking good time with this.
Yeah, I'll bet. I didn't realize the directors only did VHS and Southbound, which is really some of my favorite.
Okay, interesting. So just done some short, because those are both anthology movies, I think, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But yeah, it's really slick. It's really well directed. It's really well edited. There's no downtime in this movie. I feel like it just hits for an hour and a half or hour 45 or whatever, and it moves on. And it's definitely what I enjoy about it is that it's not quite. So my brother and I had a really long, not argument, but debate about this movie. And the main focus of it was that he felt that it doesn't fully commit to the genre. So this is obviously a horror comedy.
Horror.
And most of the horror, but there's some elements. I mean, there's some stuff that makes you squirm in this. There's a particular scene involving a nail that I think is really effective.
That's all you have to say. Nail.
And really effective and really fun and exciting and fantastic. I think it totally nails the horror genre.
Nice one.
Nice pun. Anyway, I think there's moments in it where it reaches genre heights, but it doesn't I don't know that it sustains that. It doesn't for instance, a traditional, a really great horror film often just ramps up and reaches some kind of climax, and this movie has these little moments of it that are very exciting for horror fans, but it's also kind of a broad comedy in the way that a movie like Game Night is. It's a broad comedy that's kind of disguised as a thriller, and it's a broad studio comedy that's disguised as a thriller, and it's that Game Night works because it's kind of for everybody. It's not really. There's not really. It's not too offensive.
Saw Game Night,
and it's my mom and dad like that. It's not and they don't really. I'm not. My parents are cool.
I got you. Yeah,
but you know what I mean. God, if they listen to this, they're never gonna hear the end of that. But
you said they're cool. It's not bad.
Like I wrote in my notes, it's like the Death Cab for Cutie of genre film. I feel like it's like the introduction. It's like the introduction to indie music. And that's a good thing though, right? There's a place for that because ultimately Death Cab's a kind of band that is very much an alternative rock band that's kind of indie.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, they still have mainstream appeal. They have some stuff that like you can. It's not like and I think that's what's good about that is I think it'll introduce more people to horror. And I think, but that being said, the biggest comparison, I think, even if you've seen the trailer to this is obviously, I think You're Next.
You're Next.
I think
and it's funny that you say that because I don't know if it's official yet. I mean, I thought you might know because you turned me on to You're Next. And it's funny because that's what Gloriana said. She goes, oh, this is You're Next. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, and not to knock down your brother, but I think that this is a new genre. I mean, he's saying it's horror, and obviously they're all hitting up, but I think it's like a new genre, and I don't know what you want to call it.
He very much knows that it's a comedy, but it's just more. So in his issues, to be fair to him, is they're more plot specific, and I can't go into what he's. No. I can sort of because essentially what he's describing is that there's dramatic arcs in this film that I think are handled very tastefully. Like I think they spend time with these characters, and I think the biggest compliment to the film is that I remember a lot of these characters. There's a few that I think you could consolidate into like there's a kind of a fat guy character that like I don't even know who he's married to in the family. And you're like this guy, he's funny, but like it's like he could be consolidated into. There's another character played by there's like three characters I think you could blend into one, which is. There's the girl from Your Next that says, fuck me next to your dead mom. Yeah. There's that character who's like the goth chick that likes hunting people. And then you have the fat guy who's kind of just the comedic relief almost. But it's like this movie's already filled with actors that are known for comedy and they're all very good at this. So it's like, I don't think you need him. And so there's too many characters, but it's less of a problem than it would be in a movie like Bird Box, where I think you just have there's 15 people and none of them are distinctive in any way, and you could literally consolidate 5 or 6 of them, and it would be for the better. But that being said, I think I think God, my mic is just
we gotta get that.
My headphones are. Sorry, let me plug them back. Oop, there we go.
I can hear you. Yeah.
I know you can. I'm getting this little crackling, and I'm just like it's driving me crazy. Where was I?
The characters, Bird Box,
they're all very memorable though in this movie, and that's something. It's a testament to a pretty solid script and good direction and editing, and just giving all these characters the time they need, not to like have some dramatic arcs. There's probably 3 like characters that actually. And let me pull up the cast because there's a few
I was just there.
People worth noting. And the lead girl is just fantastic. I think and I love the way the movie like. Immediately sets her up, like her kind of attitude. She's in her wedding dress, smoking a cigarette by the window, and you're just like, "Fuck yeah, I love this person already." Like it just
she's
has
from
this
The Babysitter, one of my favorite, and 3 Billboards. That's where she's from.
Oh, she's in that,
and she's in Mayhem. Yeah, all the movies you love.
Interesting. Well, I've only seen 3 Billboards, but
you didn't see The Babysitter.
So she has no, I haven't seen The Babysitter yet.
It's amazing.
But yeah, she has like this the presence of. Speaking of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the presence of Margot Robbie.
She looks like her.
But the attitude of, what's her name from Love and Community?
What's her name? The girl. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Jillian Jacobs.
Jacobs. Yeah.
I love both of those people. Like Margot Robbie, she has like the elegance and the screen presence of Margot Robbie.
Like that.
But she has like this total like kind of just cynical attitude, which is so fun. And again, like I said, like the movie opens with her smoking a cigarette in her wedding dress. And you're just like, that's a great way to introduce a character, and that's a directing thing. That's like a really great piece of direction, or maybe it was written in the script, but I just feel like that was really, really great at establishing kind of who this girl is right off the bat.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of mean and fun, and just I love her, and I think she's really great in this. But then the brother, one of the brothers, Adam Brody plays Daniel, who I think is a really interesting character that this movie really commits to. I don't think this movie ever reaches like actual emotional punches, but it tries, and I think it works effectively enough for this kind of broad horror comedy. Because horror films aren't known for having much depth, right? Yeah. And this movie makes the effort to attempt to piece that kind of a story underneath all of this. I don't know that. So there's a few in relation to the husband character in the movie. I like him. There's a point, which is my brother's absolutely right about, where I think you could use a little bit more time to complete his arc, like, because it feels a little rushed, I think, by the third act. But it's like in this kind of movie, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I don't know. Again, I can't go into too much detail, but like structurally, I think you could, even though I like the pacing of this, I feel like if we were to get like a director's cut, I feel like there's scenes that we're missing that would help round out some of these arcs that would actually make this more effective dramatically, I think.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's an hour and a half. I'm pretty sure the DVD or the Blu-ray might have some.
Well, and I feel like they're like scenes that are like, I feel like all the bullet points are there, like in terms of character arc and story.
And you said it was nonstop from beginning to end.
It's there's no lull. I mean, it's very sharp and very just all the way through. And that feels like, again, with this kind of a film, it feels like it knows kind of what it is. It knows that it's going for a broader audience than a traditional genre film. And I feel like it's like I can forgive some of those things because it's not, I don't need that from this movie. Like I just didn't need and it gives us more than I even expected, I guess. And ultimately the end of the conversation my brother and I had was like, I think him and I just had different expectations of what this kind of movie should be. And it's like, while he's absolutely right that you could, like a more effective version of this is Your Next. Like I think Your Next is more subtle. Like this movie lacks subtlety for sure, which is definitely one of its problems. Like the comedy, like I think we hit kind of like in Your Next, there's a shift near the middle of the film, I think, which is where it like shifts into horror comedy obviously.
Yeah, because it starts out as a horror film.
A true horror film.
Yeah,
and it's effective. And it sets up and then it twists. And because now that it's set up, what it's paying homage to some degree, now it flips it on its head and then becomes this home invasion movie where the invaders become the ones being hunted, which is a fun kind of silly premise, but it works really effectively because it builds up to that point. And then when it shifts, we don't have an hour left. Like there's only 30 minutes left now where, Joey Swanberg is being stabbed to death by his brother. It's like, stop hurting me. Why won't you just die already? So it has like these great comedic moments in Your Next, but I feel like this movie hits that transition point like 15 minutes in, maybe 20 minutes in, where it's like we get the bit is started already. And what's good and bad about that is what's good about that is it allows the movie to go to places and go for gags that you couldn't do in Your Next because it's too serious of a film still. But at the same time, that sacrifices the dramatic elements of it because from a comedy standpoint, you have to keep topping yourself. And I don't know that this movie quite reaches like greater heights as the movie goes on. There's definitely moments that are fun. But again, it's like, I think, it lacks subtlety, but at the same time, it's like, for this kind of a film, I'm not surprised by that. And I don't have an issue with that, but I understand why somebody would. So I don't know. There's a lot of really good stuff in it. I think I had a really fucking good time. I don't know that I would enjoy it as much the second time through because there's some plot elements that like there's a lot of anticipation for like what their reason is for doing what's all happening. Right. And so that's something that like, I don't know that tension would be there the second time through. That being said, it's really fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to see it.
And I really think people should go see this because, again, I think what I like the most about it is that I think it'll introduce more people to horror elements in genre film.
A broader group of people.
Exactly.
No, cool.
So it's really good. Ready or not, it will probably be on my list. But I'll have to see it again before I say all those things. Yeah, and there's a lot of other movies this year. We were talking about like The Lighthouse, and there's a lot of other great movies coming out. So we'll see. Yeah. The next one on our list is the one that I'm most interested in talking about, actually. Well, okay, not... Well, The Nightingale's before that. Sorry, I'm getting a migraine. I can barely see. The Nightingale is a second film from Jennifer Kent, who did The Babadook. This movie's being talked about a lot. Like, my dad knew more about it than I did, which is weird. Reason it's being talked about is because it's... To give kind of a brief plot synopsis, it's set in... I don't even know what time period.
1825.
1825. Okay, gotcha. I don't know my history. The Victorian era. I don't know which era it was. No, that's fine. But yeah, it's set in olden times, and it's essentially a movie about a girl who is. I think she's like been caught for like stealing something, or she's a criminal, right? And she's been convicted. Yeah, there you go. She's from Ireland. It's a very important aspect of this movie. And she is kind of being held by this guy who he's like a soldier
British
that is in
officer.
charge of, like, she's like her, like, it's hard to describe, but it's like, it makes more sense when you see the film. I feel like, that she has to like serve, she's like a servant of his for a certain amount of time. And she's paid that, she's like overdue, right? She's like finished her time, but she has to get this ticket from him in order to like basically get her freedom back. And he won't give her that. And part of that is it seems like it's definitely a power trip. He's kind of abusing his right to basically tell her no. She has a husband and a child, and they want to leave. They're ready to move on with their life, and he won't allow that to happen. And then something very horrible happens. If you've heard anything about this movie, you may, it gets described in a lot of articles because it's definitely, rough. It involves rape. I won't go further than that.
No need.
But it's definitely, well, but it's more than that though, in a way that's very rough, but also very effective. And it becomes kind of a revenge film. And that's essentially the premise of the movie. She hires this black man to take her.
Aboriginal tracker named Billy.
A tracker, okay, that's what they call it. Anyway, she hires this guy to take her through this like portion of wilderness,
Tasmania,
in pursuit of this person to get her revenge, essentially. Which may be spoiling too much, but all that's in the trailer. And again, even if like I described the horrible thing in brief detail, it's far worse than you could even imagine. I think that scene, from a standpoint of like, it's kind of like Kill Bill has the scene where, like that sets up the revenge, and this is more effective than that and more timely than that in a way that's very on the nose, but also, very effective. It's like in my notes, I described it as like pulling a Steve McQueen to some degree, like holding your face in, it's kind of like holding an animal's face in the shit that they just took on the carpet. It's like, it's like, look at this. This is what's happening.
That's what you call a Steve McQueen?
Well, Steve McQueen, the black filmmaker
black
that did 12 Years a Slave.
Okay, I got you.
And I'll compare it a lot because those films are, so both this and that movie, 12 Years a Slave, and anything Steve McQueen makes are obviously political films. They have their message films. They're definitely about something. And this is very much that. And I think for the first like half of this movie, I think it absolutely works in that regard. I think like it doesn't hold back at all. And that's something that's a huge compliment to this movie. I do feel like it then kind of stumbles to a conclusion. This movie is like 2 hours and 10 minutes or 2:15, something like that. It's over 2 hours long. And I don't think thematically it has the weight to support a runtime of that length. Because I do feel like it kind of says what it wants to say. And it's not very, I don't know that it's it's very timely, like I described. And I agree with what it's saying, sort of. There's a specific piece of what it's saying that I want to talk about later. But I do feel like it says it. And then it says it again, and then it says it again, and then the movie ends. And I feel like it just kind of like, it's like not hitting you over the head, but I just feel like it's not providing anything new after the first half. That being said, it is effective. I mean, Jennifer Kent's a damn good filmmaker. She's The Babadook, I think, is a fantastic film. I love that movie.
I love that movie.
And what I love the most about The Babadook is it's a movie that's very much about mental illness and motherhood, kind of disguised as a horror film, very similar to Ready or Not being, a broad comedy disguised as a horror film, or Game Night, same thing. And it's subtle and it's like effective as both a horror film, but also as a movie about mental health. And it's devastating and moving, and I think again the performances are fantastic. It's just such a well-directed, well-made movie that has such purpose, and I feel like it doesn't waste any time. And this movie, while it absolutely has purpose and it oftentimes is very effective, I feel like it's not providing anything new in the discussion in terms of like what it's about. It gets into kind of racial inequality as well in a way that's effective at times, but again, it doesn't feel so. The scene that I wrote down, which is a scene from 12 Years a Slave, which I think is just a masterpiece. I think, Steve McQueen's one of the best filmmakers working right now. And the reason is, so there's that great scene in it where the lead character gets hung from a tree and he's he's just hanging there, and it's like just holds the shot for far too long in like the best kind of way, in the way that like Steve McQueen does best, where he's just like, nope, like I'm not gonna edit away from this. You're fucking watching this. But the best part about that scene is that all the people in the background are just walking around as if it's just what happens every day, right? Yeah. And that's what's horrifying about it. It's like we've seen a black man get hung in the context of slavery before on screen. That's an obvious imagery, right? Yeah. But when you add the layer of this is just normal to it, it becomes way more fucked up. And that's something that analysis of what's happening is what makes Steve McQueen a fantastic filmmaker, and what separates the Babadook, the subtlety of Babadook from the Nightingale. I feel like the Nightingale doesn't quite, I think it has things to say about what's happening, but it doesn't have that analysis. It doesn't have that edge to what it's describing. I feel like the opening has a great setup for what I feel like the film doesn't know what to do with. And it's frustrating because, again, it's so well crafted and the performances are fantastic in it. And it has all the elements, but I feel like it's far too long. And it's just, unfortunately, I feel like I knew what it was trying to say, and then it goes on for another 45 minutes, and you're just like okay, just get on with it. That being said, there's some fantastic stuff in it, and the thing I wanted to talk about, though, which is the actual message of the movie. Well, obviously, I think with that setup, you kind of probably could predict, because it's very much a film about a character two characters whose voices have been taken away by this abusive man who's abusing the power that he's been given, right? Which is very obviously timely when we're talking about Me Too and all that things. We're recording this in 2019, and that's very much a backdrop to this film. There's a line in it where the lead character asks the black tracker, she says, like, do you, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact line, but she says, like, do you have black people like him? And she's referring to the awful officer character. And he says, yes. And she says, what do you do with them? And she says, we kill them, right? Is what he says. And so my question, and this is more of a question, I don't really have, so that could be taken two important ways, right? Which is, when horrible things happen, is our response violence? And that's my question. Is that what it's trying to say? Is that, and again, I don't know that that's what, is it, we should kill the mindset, the abusive, the toxic mindset, or is it we should respond in a manner? Because again, this is a genre film, and it's very much a revenge film, and that's important in terms of like, that line could be taken in the context of that movie, but also with the backdrop of that we need to kill that mindset, right? Which is, I agree with, right? Like, there's no room for abusive behavior. I'm curious what your thoughts are in response to that. And
I'm saying this, and again, nobody get this wrong. We're not trying to be un-PC. So again, reading in the review, because I haven't seen the film, and I definitely want to see the film. It's an Aboriginal tracker, so you have to go back into seeing what that is. And back in 1825, the Aborigines were just that. They were like friggin', uncivilized people.
Sure.
And so when he says that, and again, I'm going for what you're telling me, obviously that's exactly what they did. It's it's like the Native Americans.
No question.
If you were a bad man, you get killed.
No,
they get
obviously.
Rid of you.
So there's the literal context of that,
and
for
then,
sure.
Yeah. And then in the...
But its placement in the film is very important. So again, it's not...
And in a civilized society, and I don't want to go into black or white, but obviously these are people of a white descent, that's something that you're like, well, we need to follow the law, blah, blah, blah. So if this is about revenge, I mean, I can see where she's like, well, what would you do? And he's like, well, I'll kill him.
Well, and in this kind of movie, you're just like, absolutely, I don't care. But if we're talking morally and what the movie is about, then the film that I wrote down, which you'll know, you're very familiar with, I watched this with you, that has a very similar moral dilemma, is Do the Right Thing, which is also a movie about racial inequality. And it's a movie that sets up the question, which is, are you Martin or are you Malcolm, right? Which is, are you somebody who's going to respond with peace and with, you could probably, what's the line at the end though? There's a quote that they use from Martin Luther King, which is, he's basically criticizing Malcolm X for the way that he believes people should respond to racism. Right. And the question, and it's a question I have for Jennifer Kent. It's not so much a question I think the movie answers, because again, it's a movie, it's a revenge film. So if you're talking about, it's hard to know exactly.
Okay,
I'm sure
so
that
it's violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. It is impractical because it's a descending spiral ending in a destruction for all. The old law of an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. So that's his.
That's
line.
Martin,
Yeah.
and then Malcolm has a very
And then Malcolm's line is, hold on. Wait.
and do the right thing. The stance that it takes and do the right thing is that you should burn it down, right?
Yes.
Which is a response with violence to some degree.
Yeah.
But it still leaves that question, and the movie ends with a picture of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I believe, right? Is the way
So holding
the
hands
post-credits.
and
Which is again, I think
And
just
Malcolm's is, I think there are plenty of good people in America, but there are also plenty of bad people in America. And the bad ones are the ones who seem to have all the power and be in their position to block things that you and I need. Because that is the situation, you and I have to preserve the right to do what is necessary to bring an end to this situation. And it doesn't mean that I advocate violence. No, we did. But at the same time, I'm not against using violence in self-defense. I don't even call it violence when it's self-defense. I call it intelligence.
Sure.
Which I agree.
And that's interesting. Well, especially in the context of self. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what's interesting is, and I think this movie very much, it's very similar to that. I think it lacks the nuance of a movie like Do the Right Thing, but that's not a fair comparison. I mean, what is as good as that, you know?
Yeah, so it's a great film.
But still, it's certainly a problem when you're talking about a film that's talking about a lot of the same things. Obviously, it's from a female's perspective in the current time, which is a very important thing. And I was trying to, because I came up with that because that's very obviously also a movie about racial inequality. And I was trying to think of a better example of a movie that's about women's kind of troubles in current times. And I don't know, I couldn't come up with a lot of examples, which was kind of contradictory to the point I'm trying to make, which is that I don't know that there's a lot of movies like this. And I'm glad that in conclusion to all of these thoughts, kind of rambling that I've talked about for 30 minutes now, I'm glad that this exists, right? I'm glad that they're because angry films like this don't exist very often, right? Like a movie like 12 Years a Slave is that's a once in a couple years. And not that there aren't. I mean, we have movies like Blind Spotting. We've got The Hate You Give. We've got like political films nowadays that are getting made, which is fantastic. But it's because again, it's like you want cinema to reflect the thoughts of our time, obviously. And I'm glad that, you know, they're, especially a movie that is so violent and so brutal. I'm glad that this exists, and I'm glad that Jennifer Kent's making movies because she's so good at it. But that being said, like, I feel like, and I don't know, I just feel like the message is not as nuanced or subtle as it hopes to be. And I feel like the movie is too long and it gives you too much time to really kind of go, all right, we know what you're saying. And so I feel like it's kind of frustrating because it could be so much. If you cut this down 15 minutes, it could be like, I feel like we wouldn't be ahead of it.
I got you.
So all that being said, I want to see more from Jennifer Kent. I can't wait because I think she's so talented. And this movie there's some great nightmarish sequences and some great performances. And there's, again, like the craft is on display here. But thematically, I think it leaves a little to be desired in terms of, you know, nuance and analysis. But maybe I'm totally full of shit. Who knows? One of the reviews
after I see it, I'll let you know.
One of the reviews of this movie, it was a rotten review by Stephen Scaife. Says the violence of Jennifer Kent's film doesn't seem to build upon its themes so much as repeat them, which is what I described earlier. I think it's 100% accurate. And it's disappointing, but there's still a lot of good stuff to be seen here. And I think it's a film worth going and supporting. So that being said, that's The Nightingale. I don't know if it's going to get a full release. It was at Draft House. That's where I saw it. But I mean, they don't have that many screenings of it, so I don't think it's going to run for very long. But if you get a chance, it's a rough watch, but it's worth seeing. Yeah,
definitely. I watched it on a Fire Stick. All right, and let's see. Wildlife, because you were more excited about talking to wildlife, but then you went into 20 minutes on Nightingale.
Well, Nightingale, I mean, is worth talking about. So wildlife, I don't know if I have nearly as many thoughts on wildlife, honestly. Which is I don't know if it's the directorial debut, but Paul Dano directs this film, and it stars.
He's done other films.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. I remember he did one a few years ago. I forgot the name of it. It's the name of a child in the movie. Anyway, regardless, he doesn't direct a ton of things. So it's interesting that he's doing this. But anyway, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Carey Mulligan, and the kid from what's the Visit, Shyamalan's movie. He's the one that like raps in it. He's kind of an obnoxious kid in that movie.
That kid.
But he is fantastic in this film, though. He's actually the lead character of this movie. It's a movie that's set in the kind of post World War II, late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Kind of that time period in America where, like, I feel like it was like a time period of industry. Like, it was like when men go and they work jobs and they provide for the family, and it's like when America kind of established a lot of its like kind of conservative traits. I don't mean that in a bad sense. It's just good and bad. You know, kind of the traditional family dynamic is that kind of time period where it's set in a town in, I think, Montana or North Dakota. I forget exactly where it is, but it's set kind of in the middle of nowhere and kind of up near the mountains. And in the back of all of this, there's a wildfire burning through, which is very very timely with our Amazon rainforest currently on fire. But there's a fire kind of burning through the area, and a lot of the men from the town are being sent to take care of it. They're being paid like very little rates to go and basically, get lung cancer. But it's, again, that's very important because I think it plays a big role in the dynamic of the family in this movie. So it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Carey Mulligan are married. Jake, I think, works for. Let me get their actual names here. I have it written down. Jake Gyllenhaal plays Jerry. Sure. Carey Mulligan plays Jeanette. And Ed Oxenbould, who's the kid, plays Joe, who's their son. And Jake Gyllenhaal gets fired from his job as like he's basically working on like a golf course or for like a country club, and he like takes care of the guests there, and he oversteps his boundary, or at least in his boss's eyes, by kind of being a little too not forward but too friendly with the guests, and he gets fired ultimately. And he's obviously frustrated financially. That's for this family is a challenge, but it's also kind of he felt like he was doing all he could and still lost his job. And there's some kind of tragedy that comes from that, because even the boss offers his job back, and he's like, why would I take that back? You've already, you've made the decision. Why would I go work for you again? Which I think he's absolutely right. I don't think anybody should, especially for the reason he got fired. Nobody should get fired for that. I don't know. It's frustrating in that regard, but but all of this is told through the child's perspective. So, and he's like 13, so he's in high school. But like the scene where Jake Gyllenhaal gets fired is the son is watching, and we just see his reaction. And that's a really interesting way to tell this story, and I think that's what makes this fresh for me. But so Jake Gyllenhaal decides to go off and kind of impulsively almost go off and fight these wildfires instead of trying to get a better paying job, a safe job even. And that creates a lot of tension between Carey Mulligan and him, and just their relationship, because she feels kind of abandoned almost. And she's at the beginning of the film is very much kind of the smiling face, like the strong one in all of this. Like you can do it. You can go get another job. I'll go get a job if you have to. Like we'll do whatever. But Jake Gyllenhaal feels like, I mean, especially in that time, and I think that's why the place it's set, the time period it's set is very important, is the kind of the men being the provider of the family, which is now kind of a conservative kind of old school type of thought. But at that time it wasn't, and there's that like pressure, and Carey Mulligan is saying like, no, I'll take over, right, if I need to, and there's, again, that creates some tension, and it's a movie that's very much about a relationship falling apart, but it's through the son's perspective, from the son's perspective, and Carey Mulligan kind of has like almost a nervous breakdown, and it gets very dark in terms of where these characters go, and it's devastating and bleak and cold. And it's set in a very lonely landscape, and the photography is very still, very photographic, very similar to The Farewell, which I've described in our last episode. And it's beautiful, and the performances are just incredible. I mean, the kid is Ed Oxenbould is just fantastic. I mean, he really holds this thing up, and it reminds me a lot of the Separation, which is another film about a divorce. And a devastating one. I think that's a better movie, but I do think Wildlife has some really interesting stuff going on in it, and I love the backdrop of kind of this wildfire kind of closing in on this town and how that reflects in their everyday life. This kid feels like his family's falling apart, and he doesn't know how to handle that. He's just he's not old enough to really be able to know how to feel or how to react, or how to just do normal everyday life, go to school, do all that stuff while this is happening. And there's this just devastating finale to this that, and I say that, but like it's so subtle, it's so quiet. The poster is the final shot of the film, and it's incredible. I just think it's a terrific kind of visual representation of where all these characters are, and this Ed Oxenbould, like his role in that dynamic is it's brilliant. I really think this movie's incredible. Yeah. So if it's on Amazon currently, it doesn't even have a physical release. Like you can't purchase this movie non-digitally, which is frustrating. I don't know if it got a theatrical run or not. It's a very quiet kind of indie drama. You know, I'm not surprised by that, I suppose, but people should see it. So it's on Prime. If you have Prime, I think it's free currently, and it's just if that sounds interesting to you, you should absolutely see it. It's great. So that's Wildlife.
Wildlife.
What's next?
Then we start getting to the other films.
Okay, so this is mostly, I'm curious to what your thoughts are on a lot of these movies. This is why they're on the list. The next one on our list is I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which is the debut from, what's his name? He's the lead in Blue Ruin.
Blue Ruin, yeah, the director.
That was Jeremy Saulnier who directed that, but what's the guy's fucking name? God damn it. I know this.
And I'm not fast enough.
Macon Blair.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
He directed this movie, which is very. It's
so you've seen it then, yeah?
Oh yeah.
I liked it.
This is a movie that I anticipated greatly when it came out because I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Saulnier. Yeah, I'm Facebook friends with him for some reason. I don't know why the hell he would have added me on Facebook, but he directed Blue Ruin, Green Room. Yeah. This feels tonally like a blend of the two of them. I feel like, which is just kind of. The Blue Ruin's kind of an American revenge thriller, a very quiet one, and this is also kind of a dark comedy as well.
Very dark.
Stars Melanie Linsky and Frodo.
Elijah Wood.
Yep, and he plays kind of the eccentric neighbor who. I don't even remember the plot of this movie.
Yeah,
I know that
she
she doesn't feel at home in this world anymore.
Yeah, she's a home attendant in a hospital. She takes care of the elderly. She comes home one day and she was robbed. And she, does whatever she does. She gets the cops involved, and the cops are like, yeah, whatever. And that pisses her off because she's very, which is I think is the funny thing because this is she's not a normal human being in that aspect. That she's like, well, I don't accept that, And then she finally gets a blip on her phone that tells her where her computer is because they stole her computer, and she goes after it. But yeah, she meets Elijah Wood, who's this like. Weird heavy metal type dude who walks his dog all the time, and they have this bond, and he goes with her. He's into ninja stars and nunchucks, and it begins this adventure. They tell them how the people that when she finds the computer, they're just regular people. They bought the computer off a meth head, and that starts the film rolling, and they find out who the meth head is, and they go to find out. They're following him around, and then the meth heads find out who they are, and then we find out there's another story, like a Fargo type story going on where the meth head is going to rob his dad of money that's secretly hidden somewhere in the house, and the girl from
and then it becomes like this weird black comedy
like Fargo meets So and it's funny because the girl
reminds me of Fargo season 2. Kind of like the family, like the weird family, awkward family dynamics.
And I know you like that girl. What's that girl's name? Damn.
I only know Melanie Linsky, I think, but let me see.
No, the one who's like in the gang.
Oh.
Is it Marilyn? No, this is not it. Oh, man.
I don't know.
They're not showing the bad guys. I
don't remember the tail end of that movie. I remember the snake stuff. I remember some of the... but I don't remember... are you talking about the wife?
No, in the gang, in the son's gang, there's the girl, but she's not even credited here. She was in Don't Breathe. She was
the lead from Don't Breathe. Oh, Jane Levy.
She was in Evil Dead. Yeah, okay, I'm looking for her. Where is she?
She's like buried in the cast.
In the cast,
I didn't know. I don't remember her in this, but this was before I had seen a lot of that stuff, though. I feel like.
But she's
Jane Levy.
Jane Levy, there she is. Yeah, so she was. It was really good. She's the one who ends up being like the badass of the group in the end, But
gotcha.
But I really, I kind of enjoyed it. It was a quirky little film. I mean, it's not nothing to write home about.
For a debut feature, I think the performances are good, and it's got I enjoy the tone of it.
The tone of the film,
it's very dark, and I'm interested in seeing what else Macon has to say.
Yeah.
I love the scene where he spoils the book for her.
That was fucked up. Like, she's like, they're in the bar, and you think, oh, this is a guy she can be with, and then he just spoils it like a dick, and then that's it. I'm like, but then Elijah Wood, you find out, is into the book series too, and he's a lot like her. How
I love Elijah Wood in this too. But yeah, that's. I mean, we didn't. I didn't have a ton of thoughts. I just was curious to what you thought about it.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and then what's the strange thing?
The strange thing is about the Johnsons is it's an early film from Ari Aster, who did Hereditary and Midsummer, and I know you know that, but for anybody that doesn't know, and it's a short film. It's like 30 minutes long. It's one that he did at AFI when he was there, and it's about an incestual relationship between a father and a son, which is a really fucked up premise. But what's interesting about it, so it's very dark and it's very funny, and it's also very sad and tragic in a way that is really interesting because it's obviously the relationship is more provoked by the son, which is an interesting dynamic, but it's also like it's also like pedophilia. It's like fucked up, in terms of, so like you can't like, but you actually kind of feel sympathy for the father in it, which is something that's the movie both knows that it's doing, like it's very aware of the fact that that's a fucked up way to feel about this guy who has essentially raped his own child, from the age of like 13 on or so, I think is kind of where it starts. But you actually, I don't know. It's like, and that's what the movie makes you feel a certain way. And then very much, it's kind of like funny games. Like, it's like you should feel bad for feeling bad for this guy.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, but it's also, it's
like Happiness.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh my God.
Speaking of funny games though, I did watch Amour, which is on our list later.
This guy, what's the director's name? Oh man, who did,
we're really blowing it today in that regard.
Which is here we go. Happiness is Todd Solondz.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
You never seen that one?
I think you described that movie to me.
Remember, and it's like the what's his name? Paul Dylan Baker plays the father who's a pedophile and doesn't rape his kid. He rapes like all his kids' friends and ends up in the end of going to jail. But before he goes off to jail, he says that to his son. He goes, I just never wanted to do to you. Ugh. And then the kid cries because he doesn't know why his father didn't want to molest him, but molest all the other friends. And I think it's such a dark film, but
that is fucked up.
But that's how I feel.
Though.
It's a great film. I love this film. But again, see how I'm giggling. I'm like, why would I love this film? And root for Dylan Baker. You don't want him to go to jail. And the scene where he drugs his whole family just so he can rape a friend that his son tells him, oh yeah, his parents, they don't care. They leave him home alone all the time, and he's home alone right now. Oh. So he gives everybody ice cream and drugs the ice cream, and when they all fall asleep, he goes to the house and rapes a friend.
That's insane.
God forgive you. But anyway, I get you.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like, it's a movie that like is, but it's very, it's again, like all of Ari Aster said, it's very deliberate and like its pace and it's even just the way it's shot. It's very, it's really impressive and I think it's on Vimeo, or it's definitely on the internet for free. So if you get a chance,
I was going to ask you, where'd you see
like Ari Aster, it's definitely worth checking out.
I'm going to definitely check that out.
That's all I have to say about
that. Because Happiness you can't get anywhere unless you rent it through Amazon.
Yeah. It's Lady Bird. You just saw
Lady Bird. Yes.
Which is Greta Gerwig's not directorial debut, but it's the first time I think solo directing a project. I think because she did Frances Ha, which I
love. Right. That's her.
But she co-directed that with Noah Baumbach. And she's not in this, which is so she's like, in that movie, she's the lead in it. Yeah. And it's written by her. This is written and directed.
I don't know who's going to attack me now. I liked it. I mean, but when it came out, everybody was like praising it to all the high heavens, and it was going to win awards. And I see why it didn't. I mean, it's a good little film, you know. And I love the what is this? Saoirse Ronan, Saoirse. Sorry, whatever.
She is great in this movie. Yeah.
She's amazing. I love her. I also loved Laurie Metcalf was very good in it.
Laurie Metcalf is really good in it.
I even like the father. Tracy Letts was good in it.
Tracy Letts is great.
It was a good little movie, but it wasn't like, now I see why, I didn't win everything, but and it ended nice. It was like, one of those 90 indie films that come out. And
I love the ending.
I know you do. And I guess that's why, but it was okay. I enjoyed it. It went really fast. It's only an hour and a half and it was fine.
Well, I think so. Some of it is you're watching it 2 years. I think it came out in 2016 or something.
2017.
And we've had a few movies like Booksmart. You haven't seen Booksmart yet, but Booksmart, like you've had like what's the movie we talked about in relation to Booksmart with. What's her name?
Superbad. Oh no,
it's from what's her fucking name? From True Grit.
Haley Stanfield.
Yeah, Edge of 17.
Edge of 17.
We've had a lot of movies like that in the past few years, which is great because I think all those movies are great. And
I like Edge of 17 better, I think. But
because
of the performers,
maybe.
the actors, Woody Harrelson's amazing in it. Yeah, so.
I enjoy both those movies for different reasons because I think that what's interesting is like. I don't know. And Lady Bird, what I like about Lady Bird is like I love that it's like an ode to a place in the way that when I was describing The Farewell and describing like my thoughts towards Chicago, like it's an ode to Sacramento. Yeah. And I love that. Like I love the scenes where she's driving through the town and kind of going like, this is really a pretty place. And you don't feel that way until you're looking back on it as an adult. And I think that's the thing that I latch onto in that film. And I also love like there's kind of the melancholy, like the Tracy Letts character is kind of sad. Yeah. Like I love like I don't know, and it's a very funny, very sharp, witty movie as well. I don't know. I think it's really good, and I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. But I think it's fair that they shouldn't have won Best Picture that year. I don't remember what won that year. Was that the Moonlight year?
Yeah, Moonlight.
I mean, Moonlight's a better movie, but and so is
La La Land,
which should have won. But no, I love Moonlight. But still, jeez, we're going on a rabbit hole here with this.
So let's move on to after Lady Bird, Wind River.
We have way too many movies on this list.
But these are quick because these are ones.
Yeah, I mean, you've already. I was just curious what your thoughts are. This is mostly why they're on here.
So you saw Wind River, though.
Oh yeah, I think Wind River.
I love it. And again, this is
Wind River is the feat. I think it's the actual debut. I think a bunch of debut features here. I think it's from Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Hell or High Water.
Yes.
And there's another really Sicario. He also wrote Sicario. So yeah, Taylor Sheridan. It's his debut feature with starring Jeremy Renner and what's her name from Elizabeth Olsen.
So it's a little Avengers reunion. You got Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch and. Really fucking good.
It's set in like kind of a desolate town in the mountains.
In the mountains of
it's like north. It's got to be North Dakota, Wyoming. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very cold. It's like cold most of the year.
If you're outside, and that's an interesting thing about the reason why the girl died, and at the end, spoiler alert, where the guy dies, it's like it's so cold. Yeah. You breathe in that air after a few minutes, and it just
fucking destroys your lungs.
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, that's so.
It's brutal. Yeah.
But
it's also it's a very chilly movie, and its setting is very important, and all the fact that it's set like on an Indian reservation, like all that stuff is kind of interesting too. It's Jeremy Renner is amazing in this movie.
This is amazing. I love this film very much.
He's like really good in this.
And this movie didn't get a lot of
Nobody saw it. It played though. I saw it at AMC.
2017, and I'm like, why didn't he get nominated?
I don't know. It's really
and it's like funny they say chilly because he comes across as that. Mm-hmm. When he's with his kid, it's a little bit more love, but not without. He's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, he's like cold,
and it's because of what happened in his life. But, and then the girlfriend thing, and it's and the Native Americans in the film.
It's a frustrating movie too.
Yeah, Elizabeth also. I love the ending.
That's
it's funny that you talk about. Not cowboys and Indians, but in the end when there's that giant firefight. And it was amazing. And I love the ending. Like, what's his name? Shane from Punisher. I keep forgetting his name.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, The Walking Dead. He's in it, and he's in it for a brief moment. It's an amazing scene. It pulls the film to its end, and I just really loved it.
And then that final, like, shootout, like that whole the way that it builds tension there is just incredible. And it's
it's amazing.
And
then
that's some Sicario shit, or like that's definitely like Hell or High Water. Like he knows how to build tension in a very raw, real way.
Yeah, that whole scene. The minute the cops
they all pull their guns on one another.
No, but the whole flanking when the guy's like, they're flanking us, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? And he knows, and it's like I'm like motherfucker, because I saw it too. The movie's playing, I'm seeing them like circle them, and I'm like just circling around these motherfuckers. And he says, whoa, what are you doing? He goes, get back behind me. You're flanking me. And like, what are you talking about? And it's like, that is where the tension begins. And it's like, you already know the shit that's going to happen. And the minute she knocks on the door, you cut to the flashback. And it's an amazing cut. It's like, editing is amazing because then you find out everything that happens.
For such a quiet, kind of deliberate, paced film.
Yes.
Like I feel like there's these moments of tension feel so like precise. And just, I mean, God, man. And we have another movie later that reminds me a lot of it, Nocturnal Animals, which is on the list.
Which I wanted to watch because I know it's on Hulu and I wanted to watch it to see so we can talk about it. And like last night we got back late and I fucking conked out.
It's a tough movie to watch late too. Don't watch that late.
Oh, don't watch it late.
You can watch it
today.
after dark.
I'm gonna watch it today.
The movie is titled Nocturnal Animals. Maybe we'll save that for next week because I have a lot of thoughts on that. But it would be much easier to talk about with spoilers. So I'm gonna cut that off the list for later. We have plenty of movies to talk about anyway. We still have some TV to talk about.
Oh, you might even have to post it. I go to the bathroom.
Fair enough. Let me see. I need to make my
we only got 2 more of the movies, and then we go into the.
Yeah, we're rolling through these. I don't think it'll take much longer.
Yeah, but I gotta go to the bathroom.
Fair enough. Well, here let's
pause it for a sec.
Yeah. So we're back after the quick bathroom break slash.
Was it quick?
I don't know. It's been who knows how long it's been. Maybe it's been 3 days. You have no idea.
That was subtle, but
it could have been.
The next film I want to talk about is the atrocity.
The latest. Oh man, we're just opening that way with it. Interesting. I mean, you know that I didn't. We're talking about
we're talking about Halloween,
and
and I love Halloween. And what I don't like is, I don't want to go into a long diatribe, but I'll say this: it's almost what Disney did with Star Wars, where Disney said, "Oh, well, we're making new films, and guess what? All those comic books, all those cartoons, all those novels, all those everything, they go out the window. We're starting a whole new world." And then J.J. Abrams couldn't even do it. And then boom, we jump back into an expanded universe after the second film. This is kind of like that, where John Carpenter just said, I could have sworn he said 1 and 2 mattered, and that was it. But then I read it said only 1 happened. And then it's right,
because they discredit the second movie.
The second film, even though he did it,
since it came out.
It's a great film. And then it ends just like the second film. And I'm like, so was this the version you wanted to do for your second film? It don't even make sense when the second film was better. And you could have just picked up with the whole thing about what he is. I mean, I know the other films got into the whole fact that he was evil, pure evil, and you don't have to count the actual movies of how he was alive, the Satanic Cult in part 6 or whatever the fuck it was.
There's so many of those.
But I mean, the point was that nothing happened but part 1. So somebody summed it up. Somebody said, why is he this like killing machine? Why are people afraid of this killing machine if he only killed a couple of people? Because if you count the people he killed in part 1,
it's only
3 people, 4 people. Or 5. And I'm like, but you get the sense that the history is still there of all these millions of people he's killed. And again, the whole thing that Donald Pleasence does, and again, I know you don't count the other films, but the whole speech in part 2 about how he's pure evil, he goes in on that. And I'm like, because it doesn't explain why he continues to pursue Laurie, and then of course there's the ending. And again, this came out as a spoiler because he almost spoiled it, but I'm going to spoil it now. It ends just like part 2 where he burns up. But in part 2, it was a definitive ending per se, because in part 2, you see his body burning. But what happens in this one? You get that far shot. You get 3 shots of this room burning and not 1 shot of Michael in it. And I'm like, so he goes part.
Yeah. If he dies off screen, it doesn't happen.
It didn't happen. So I'm like, okay, now you're going to do more sequels. So I don't understand what the point of this film was. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it was just to bring Laurie Strode back. But
for what? In what way? It was a stupid way, too. Like
the more time has passed since I've seen this, the less I like it. And it's mostly, I mean, my biggest problem, as I described in my review of it back in the day, is I just think Laurie Strode's character is a cartoon in this. Like
exactly. You know what it reminded me of? Arrested Development. The way. Oh my God, what's her name? The sister, the daughter. She like the way she hates her mother. Lindsay, I would say, because we were talking about Laurie. So like Lindsay, the way Lindsay hates her mom. It's like, that's how I felt. Like I was like, well, were we watching Arrested Development? It's like and then the way she acts, she's so manic when she walks into the restaurant. I don't want to sit down. Oh, please sit down. I'll sit down. Oh, but then she offends everybody and walks out. I'm like,
it's just like it's just there's no subtlety. it's just like, she's a cartoon character.
It's a cartoon, and it's like even Michael's a cartoon, and then the killings. Like
there's some fun kills in it though.
Yeah, but how about this?
I like that one shot, like the where they like actually pick up where the first one left off, and he's like I think that's what was happening, right? Or is it maybe it's different? I don't know. Where he's like walking outside the house, and they do like the whole one take.
Oh
where
yes.
I like all that stuff. It's pretty slick at times.
And when he goes into the houses to get there, right?
Yeah.
It's the opening of part 2. And I'm like, so what happens? So part 2, you want to incorporate, but you want to do it 40 years later. It was kind of confusing. I'm like, you did it better in part 2, but now you're doing it again. And it's like he walks through houses, killing people, walks out. And I'm like, part 2, the tension builds. There's shots like that.
No, I mean those are all accurate things.
And then you said there's cool kills. All right, he kills the babysitter, right? And then all of a sudden, The boyfriend, the little black kid was funny. He's like, you better get out of here. And he runs. And the boyfriend's like, oh, cut to more scenes.
Sure.
Then back. And then he's murdered just like the guy in part 1, but we never see it. It's a little bit more graphic. But I'm like, well, why didn't we see that? That was a kind of cool kill. I want to see how he killed that dude. Even though I guess you could just see part 1 and see how he killed the nerdy guy with the glasses. But in this way, he was back. His head was twisted around, but he was backwards and stabbed into the wall backwards. It was a mess. And I'm mad that they're doing another one. And I'm like, what? Anyway, that's my thoughts on Halloween. And then we're going to talk about his favorite film of all time, Brightburn, which I got to see on the night. So here's the thing: if you guys get I
don't remember how negative my review of that was.
It was bad, and I try to defend it, but here I'll go.
Elizabeth Banks is good though, right?
Huh? Yeah. You loved her. You always talk about
how
she's
great.
She's cutie. I love her.
There's some fun stuff.
Yeah. No. So I'll go into this real quick. So this Fire Stick that my daughter jacked. The only movies you can see on with no problems is anything that's old or that just came out on DVD. For some reason, I don't know how they have the algorithm that they come out perfect. If not,
well, it's probably just because once you have a physical copy of it, it's easier.
It's easier to rip it. So
have that quality.
So we saw Brightburn because she's been wanting to see it, and I told Jeremy I like the concept. It's a lot like
It is a fun concept.
Yeah, and not Zack Snyder, James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was a nice little area for him to play with since he was going to do.
He just produced this, but
yeah, he's doing Suicide Squad, and I did like it. No, not even. I liked it, but I mean, I like that cup. But what I'm saying is,
there's some fun stuff in it.
There is some fun stuff. What I hated, and let me get to the point of this. Why I don't know if Jeremy hated it because I did. And the kid who plays Brightburn or whatever the character of Jacob, whatever he is. I hated him. He didn't. I don't know if he didn't know how to act, or maybe someone said act like a robot throughout the film because you're a killing machine. He was horrible. It's like even the scene with the little girl that he had a crush on. Like, why would he do that? It don't make sense. And then even at the end, it was just really, really stupid in that aspect. His acting. And then, like I said, I did like the kills, when he
there's some good ones.
There's some really, and you when you think about it, and it's funny because right now I know Jeremy brushed over The Boys. I love The Boys. I finished watching it. I binge watched it. It's an amazing show. And what I liked was Homelander, who is the Superman Captain America of the film. The way he just cuts through people with his eyes, his laser eyes, and just cuts them down. It, of course, it's effective on the show. In this one, you think about that, what if a young Superman, a Superboy, he had no control of his powers, but he was evil. He wanted to kill. He knew his destiny was to destroy the world, which technically Superman in a later story about 10, 15 years ago, they did go into that was his original mission, but they retconned that again. But I mean, it's an interesting film, but that boy, oh my God, every time he was on screen, I wanted to smack his fucking face. I hated him. And it was interesting. I love Elizabeth Banks, Pam's boyfriend, he was good. Even the brother that he killed, one of the first kills.
From Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, he was good. It was everybody was on spot, but this kid, and it's like...
And he has a lot to do in the movie,
yeah, it's why didn't they get a better actor, And he could have carried the film better, but again, I think
my biggest problem is it's so fucking loud. That movie is so fucking loud. Oh my God, dude. Like that, I remember it being in the theater and just piercing.
Oh, see, and I saw it on TV, so we lower the TV when we're watching TV
it's
late
just
at night.
And it goes from 0 to 100 in
there are
volume.
scenes
You're just
that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm so tired of that. I don't want, there's no tension from a loud noise. It's not fair. It's just not you don't earn that. You gotta, I don't know, whatever. It's stupid.
Yeah, so let's move on from Brightburn.
Brightburn's... That's what it is. So this is our revisit section, which is, I don't know if have you seen Michael Haneke's Amour?
Say it again.
Amour, Michael Haneke.
No. Oh, no. Where is it on? I mean, I know if it's one of his films, but I've never seen it. Is it the one with the old folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so Amour, which I think is just a fucking incredible film. So I've seen it. I've only seen it twice, but it's a movie that is it's anything that I've written script wise. I feel like Amour is it's influenced so many of my ideas, and it's just a movie that it's the kind of film. I do think it's a little slow, and I do think it could be edited down a bit. It's a little dry at times. I do think it's a movie about essentially an older couple that the wife has a stroke, and her health starts really rapidly declining, and the movie's kind of focuses on kind of their relationship and just the way that how frustrating and difficult it is to see the person that you love, that you've spent your entire life with, kind of just fade away. And it's devastating and bleak and dark at times. And it's it's a very quiet kind of just. What I love the most about it is I love the kind of the tenderness that like the husband character feels towards her, and like it's just kind of watching, remembering how she used to be, and kind of hoping that it'll turn around, and it just doesn't happen. And it like destroys this guy, and it's devastating to watch. And I say all those things, and it's like that sounds really exciting. And when you watch the movie, it's very slow is the most accurate word. But I do, there's like scenes where like, I don't know, there's a scene where she's in a wheelchair and she's kind of like day to day kind of happy or sad. And there's a scene where she's like spinning around in the wheelchair, kind of having fun and kind of joking around. And then it hard cuts to like her crying in bed, you know, and it's just like, it's really, it's hard to watch somebody kind of know that they're deteriorating and then see that happen as well. And there's they have a daughter, played by, I think she's the one that plays Greta in Greta, I think. And she's really good, and they have an interesting dynamic where she's kind of like, what, like you've got to put her in a home, and it's also not what she wants, and it's a hard thing to watch because it impacts so many people, and something like that, the death of a loved one, or the kind of falling apart of a loved one, and it has this. There's like two scenes, or a few scenes, but two particular scenes. And I can't talk, since you haven't seen it. I can't talk too much about the ending, because the ending is very interesting, dramatically and morally almost. But there's a particular scene. This is what I love the most about this film. And Michael Haneke is a director. Just is there's a scene where he's sitting in their like study area. And it like hard cuts to a shot of, we see the wife in bed sick, like just looking horrible. And then it hard cuts to a shot of her. She's a musician. She used to play piano. And that's actually something that on second viewing, I didn't realize how important music plays into this, because she played piano all her life, or at least played music, but piano is what we see her like, just playing this beautiful piece on the piano. And it's just, she's so talented, and it's just like so full of life. And it hard cuts to the father, or the husband, and he's just kind of watching her play. And then he turns off the radio, and it was actually like the music was actually playing on the radio, and he was remembering her playing that in the past. And it's just like, it's devastating because it's like a visual representation of a memory. But it's like, I just thought it was like a really subtle, fantastic piece of directing and piece of editing. I don't know. There's these really tragic and really interesting, like, just, I don't know, man. It's really fucking great filmmaking, and it's not what Michael Haneke's used to doing in terms of like Funny Games, or like what's the Cachet, or any of those. Like, he's definitely a filmmaker that loves genre, and but this has elements of that. Like, there's some darkness to their relationship and the frustration that occurs from this. That's like brutal. And it's just an amazing film. It won Best Foreign Film in 2012, and it got nominated for Best Picture. And it's just it's fantastic. But it's also kind of slow, and so somebody could watch it and be like, "This is fucking boring." But I think like there's like elements that are really interesting about it, and the performance from the husband, both of them are just incredible in it. I think they both got nominated. Yeah, they did, deservedly so. And I think he got nominated. He won for director, I think, that year too. It's a very quiet kind of.
Yeah, a lot of people upset when he won. I remember that.
Interesting, but it's a really well directed movie. So
some people say that Up is the intended sequel to that.
Interesting. It has the tenderness that's shown there is very similar. He's not as grumpy as the guy from Up, but
all right. So what's next after that?
So I rewatched Magnolia and Inherent Vice.
Great films.
Great films. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen Magnolia since I first saw it, and I own it, but it's just a 3-hour movie, so it's not the kind of movie that's easy to...
It goes by so fast.
Oh, dude, the editing in that film, and it's not really a review of this movie, obviously. It's just more like I just can't believe that this movie exists for so many reasons. So... It's third feature film from Paul Thomas Anderson, my favorite filmmaker.
But technically, the follow up, because remember,
Hard Eight to Boogie Nights.
Yeah, Hard Eight was kind of no one knew about it, so everyone thought that this was Boogie Nights was the first film, and this was the follow up for Boogie Nights. But yeah, it's his third film, and I remember seeing it in the theater. Magnolia was a flop when it came out, but it was it's one of my favorite.
Understandably so.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite films of all time, I think.
Well, and it's like you have like 14 different story threads.
Yeah. It's like an Altman film. It's like his homage to Altman, yeah.
And they're all interesting, and thematically a lot of them tie together. But what's so brilliant about the movie is the way that, like, so you have in a traditional story, if you have one story arc, right, from one character, you have, say, in a traditional arc, you have like the first, second, and third act. And what's interesting about this movie is it, like, through editing, syncs up all these storylines to hit the beats that you'd hit in a traditional 3-act structure, all at the same moment. So, like, just the way it builds tension, like cross-cutting between like all the stuff with the game show,
which is amazing.
And Philip Baker Hall is fucking amazing in that film. And the kid is great. Like, just the performances are phenomenal. And then you cut to Tom Cruise having the interview with the girl in which she starts attacking him about his mother. And that stuff's like, he is just...
Tom Cruise deserves
I was listening
something.
to an interview with him, and they were talking about Magnolia. It was what's his face? It doesn't matter. It was a podcast, and they talked for like an hour and a half. And Paul Thomas Anderson was talking about like Tom Cruise, and just he's like that dude. He's like, obviously, he's like, I know everybody knows Tom Cruise, but like he's like Brad Pitt to some degree. It's like he's a guy that, and I think he's a little crazy, which doesn't help contribute to, which it definitely doesn't help in this regard. But like he's a big action star, but then he gives these just fucking heartbreaking, amazing performances, and like the scene where he's like, just fuck you, why'd you leave? Like, and he's like sitting at the bed of his father. It's just it's like, it's brutal, but he's also funny, and like it's such an interesting character. And I think that was like something that I loved the first time, but seeing it again, and
it's amazing.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in it too.
Oh my god, another amazing performance.
From
this
Step
is the
Brothers.
scene
What's
in
his
the
name?
movie? John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly is great. I love
it because this is the scene in the movie where I come to you and I ask you for a favor and you do it, and then finally after hearing that little speech, the girl says, "Okay, hold on," and she gets Tom Cruise's hand. Yeah, when he's like crying because he's almost crying, trying to
it's
get
like this is that scene in the movie.
But it's like it's just amazing. I mean,
Julianne Moore is great.
I love Boogie Nights. Don't get me wrong. Boogie Nights is more of a mainstream film, but I think my favorite of all his movies is Magnolia. I can watch that movie over and over and over again. 3 hours and 17 minutes feels like it's 20 minutes.
It's emotionally draining and
20
moving.
years. It came out 20 years ago. It came out in 1999, bro.
I just still can't believe. And then frogs fall from the sky, and you're like,
and it builds to that tension building to the biblical.
It's the lowest place.
Yes,
for all the characters. Yeah. And now one thing, and I just wanted to clarify because I think I kind of I had to pause the movie a few times, and I've heard the Philip Baker Hall though. So did he actually molest his daughter in this film?
Now yes. But there's debates online if that did or did not happen. But it did because it wouldn't have affected his
eyes.
And why would he try to kill himself if he didn't do that? Because he does feel bad about what he did, and she won't give forgiveness. Now, at the end of the film, it was always a kind of a question like the way it ended that you don't know if it's the father talking to her or John C. Reilly. But again, I mean, after watching it the second or third time, you see it is John C. Reilly.
That's interesting. And I always thought it was weird that the movie ended there.
Yeah, because she breaks the fourth wall and looks at us.
Yes.
And that's why I know it's John C. Reilly, because you see there's some kind of happiness.
PTA is just like he's a filmmaker that I just feel like I could watch his movies for days and just never really fully understand them. And he's so good. And Inherent Vice is just watching that again. I showed it to my brother. Not only a really funny movie, but also a very sad film. Just about I thought the silly Josh Brolin character has more depth than
I love Bigfoot.
He's big, Bigfoot Bjornsson. I love, he's very funny, but it's kind of okay, so you've seen Inherent Vice, and I'm sure I could read this online, but again, like my brother and I were debating, because I totally think he's gay, right? Bigfoot. It's totally the driving force for the character.
There is some kind of underlying...
His partner died.
Yes, and
he feels like he's devastated by this, and it's very clear in a funny way, but also in a very sad way, I think. Because
you can see he's not happy at home.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a sham of a marriage, and I think a lot of people... I've read an interview where they said...
It's kind of a joke also, but I do feel like that's like the actual... character. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's what that is. But
it could be.
It's interesting. I didn't know though that if that was like obvious or if people were on the fence about it.
I think people are on the fence about it. I could see where that could be the case. What's that movie? Oh my God, Todd Solondz's Far From Heaven, where the husband's in the closet gay, and then Julianne Moore is in love with the black guy. It's like all the taboos of the 50s, and that's how I get that sense. I feel like
it's totally
Josh Brolin
fitting
is
of that
playing
time
that
period.
character. So I would accept that. I'll accept that. I'll allow that.
And I don't know. I love the scene where he kicks his door down. He's like, Bigfoot, man.
Joaquin's amazing in that
He's so good in that movie. But what I love the most about it, and I think I wrote this down, or a quote from, let me find it. I have so many notes in my freaking...
And I want to go on record and say that I love Catherine Waterston in this film. I fell in love with her in this movie.
She's the one that's in Logan Lucky, right?
Shasta.
In Shasta, yeah. So that's who this is describing. So what I love the most about it, and this is in the book, it's straight out of the book, but in the same way that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an ode to that like end of an era, I feel like, and I had described that when I originally reviewed Once Upon a Time in America, that this movie feels the same way. Like it feels like it's like it kind of cherishes this time period, and like even the way that it in the book, like the way that like Pynchon kind of describes Shasta, like the way he introduces that character and the time period. She says like she came, and this is the narrator, who, that's the other thing I really love about this movie, is the narrator like is a character in the film, which is kind of weird, but she's a narrator character as well. Sortilege.
The friend, the cute little friend,
But she's not really she doesn't exist. That's what's interesting about it. So there's like, I don't think so, at least. The kid, like there's scenes where they're like talking to one another, and it's like, you'll be okay, and she's like but it almost feels like flashback, like he's like, it's an actual scene that happened, but I think he's actually talking to the narrator. I think I wrote down some. There's a scene where they like run through the rain, like he's like describing. It's like, remember that day where
all three of them were there in the
but she's not with them. Like I think she's narrating it.
That's
from
interesting.
in
I
the
gotta
scene.
See that again. I never caught that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah. So it's something that I think that's what's happening. But really interesting way to do a narrator character. Yeah. One that's kind of all knowing, but also interacts with its characters.
Yeah, interesting.
I can't imagine trying to read that in a book and just being so fucking confused by that. I don't know, just the way that, because apparently Pynchon's a really difficult book to read. I've read the first 30 pages of Inherent Vice, but having a movie to support it changes the way you read it.
Millennials, bro.
But anyway, so the way it opens though is, she says she came back along. This is the narrator talking. She says she came along the alley and up the back steps the way she always used to. Doc hadn't seen her for over a year. Nobody had. Back then it was always sandals, bottom half of a flower print bikini, faded Country Joe and fish t-shirt. Tonight she was all in flatland gear, hair a lot shorter than he remembered, looking just like she swore she'd never look. Yeah. And it's like this, it's poetry almost.
Yeah,
it's
is.
just like
very poetic.
And the way, again, just the way it describes that time period. I love that film, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. It's very dense and very silly. And
you already know how I feel. I feel like that's the first good film I enjoyed from him in a long time. And I know you want me to like the other ones, but the good thing is, I know you say I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm telling you.
I mean, The Master is one of the greatest films of the century.
But I will say that the stuff he did on Netflix, I kind of dig. I like that whole artistic side
Anima?
of him. Yeah, Anima.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm digging on that, and I'm glad because... But I love Inherent Vice. I think Inherent Vice is outside of Anima because I haven't seen any of the film.
I think you definitely enjoy it. I don't think this is speaking out of turn here. I think you definitely enjoy his more plot-driven films more so than because There Will Be Blood isn't, I wouldn't say, is a plot-heavy movie. The Master is definitely not at all that.
Not at all either.
But I think The Master has the most interesting... I think it has one of the most interesting pairing of characters I've ever seen on screen. But that's just me. I think that's his masterpiece. But what can you do? I could see that. I could watch The Master. Magnolia is a fantastic film, and again, I think there's a lot of things in that I think are unquestioned. I mean, this is a guy. I think he's he's one of the greats. I think this guy is.
I love all.
And you haven't even seen Phantom Thread yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Now that I have, I gotta watch that.
Phantom Thread is just so
I'm
good.
gonna watch him. I promise.
I don't know. I think he's operating on another level, and I love these movies. But anyway, yeah, that's Magnolia and Inherent Vice. What else do we have here?
Magnolia.
I forgot. I updated the list while you're.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting. You said you were gonna guide me.
So I have to. Yeah. So Fleabag season 2, which I finished. So I finished Fleabag, and I just. This is a damn good show, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this is just my kind of just thoughts on season 2, which is what's interesting about it is I have described season 1 to you, which is she speaks to the camera as if we're kind of not even a friend so much as like somebody who's watching kind of just it's literally like an audience almost, and she feels kind of ashamed by some of the things she's done, and in the first season it's like she's avoiding some of her past, and like in the relationship between the audience and her is very avoided. Like it's like she's like I don't want you to. She's like almost ashamed of like what that people are watching her. Like that's how the first, and then the second season, because that's all kind of there's a reveal in the beginning at the end of season 1, and that's all kind of all of her shame is out in the open.
Yeah.
And it changes that dynamic, and there's some interesting elements to season 2. Like she meets this pastor who's a Catholic priest, who's kind of like a cool Catholic priest. Like he like drinks and is kind of he's very funny and very charismatic, and she falls for him very clearly, and they kind of hit it off and have a really great relationship. And he's the only person in the show who can see when she speaks to the camera, and it's in a subtle way. He's like, where'd you just go? Like, and it's funny at times, but then it's also what's interesting about it she starts reconsidering what that is, like her speaking to the camera, and it becomes very meta in a way that's very like directly tied in with the story, because she's like are you God? Am I praying? Like, is that what this is? Yeah. Like it becomes very much about religion in a way that's very interesting. And it's also her kind of in this season, she's very much trying to not so much deal with the shame that she feels about everything that happened in her past, but more so feeling like she's not ready to move on from it. Like, and she's ashamed that she can't move on. Not so much ashamed by what happened anymore. And I think that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is just fantastic. She's such a talented writer. And I think it's a comedy that's operating like a freaking tragedy. I don't know. It's just an amazing show, and all the characters, it's not only funny and sharp and witty but it's also very moving. And I don't know, there's a scene where we flash back to her mother passed away before the events of the show, and we flash back to the funeral, and there's a scene where she's describing, because her friend died. That's the premise of the season 1. And her, I think it's like episode 4 of season 2. But it's like an episode where she's like remembering the loss of her mother and the way that impacted her. And there's a scene where she's talking to her friend who's still alive at the time, Boo. And she says, like, I don't know what to do with all the love I had for her. Mm-hmm. And Boo says, I'll take it. And what's devastating about that is Boo then dies, right? And so it's like she feels like reveal. And there's it's not a big reveal. It's in the pilot.
Oh, it's in the pilot.
Yeah. Boo passes away in the pilot, and that's what she deals with for all of season 1. But then in season 2, like it's still there, and it's like there's this line where she says something along the lines of like, I don't want to forget them. Like that's what's so hard about moving on is you feel like you could lose that love that you had for them. And it's like, that's just like, it's like for a comedy, for something that is so funny and so sharp, that's like a level of emotional depth that you just don't get in shows like this. And I think apparently this is the finale. Like, she is not doing another season. Okay. I didn't know, but apparently it's based off of a play that I think she wrote, and she performed, or I don't know if she performs that stuff. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think she wrote the play and it's performed by somebody else. And she's also like, I didn't know she was I knew she was in Star Wars, but she's the robot from Solo. I didn't know that Solo. She did the voice for it. Which is interesting. And she's also writing a new James Bond.
Interesting.
And she has another show, which I listed on here just as a recommendation, Crashing, which is the UK version of Crashing. It's not a version of it, but it's a bunch of friends who like rented out an abandoned hostel, and they all moved in.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is a disaster of an idea. But anyway, I just go watch everything this girl's done. She's just so talented, and there's some great interviews with her. She's just brilliant, and I can't wait to see what else she does. I hope she starts like directing things, but right now she's show running. Yeah. And I didn't realize she wrote and created Killing Eve as well.
Oh. That's where I know the name from, because I'm like, Waller-Bridge. Okay.
And I think when I even did the last review, I didn't even know that she I knew she wrote a lot of Fleabag. I knew she was in Fleabag. I didn't realize she show ran Fleabag. She show ran Crashing, and she show ran Killing Eve and wrote a bunch of episodes. I'm like, damn, this girl's fucking.
That makes sense because it's good. I like
so talented. But anyway, that's just go watch everything by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Mindhunter season 2. Have you watched it yet?
It's a show we need to binge watch, but I haven't watched it.
Have you watched any of Mindhunter?
Never. Everyone tells me. I know everyone tells me you gotta watch it.
Well, I mean, you're a Fincher fan. I know you'll appreciate all the things about it. Mindhunter season 2 is fucking amazing. So. Let me see. Let me look at my list real quick, and because you haven't seen it.
Yeah, try it. No spoilers.
No, I wouldn't do that. We're gonna hold off. I think on Mindhunter because this has already gone kind of late. Yeah. We'll pick it up whenever you get a chance to see it.
Because like I said, I got a lot of homework, but
it's getting fucking hot in here. I'm sweating through my shirt almost now.
Yeah, that's not good. But all right, we'll do Mindhunter next time. So we could end it on Fleabag season 2. Now I want to see Fleabag. Well, it's good because if there's only 2 seasons and they're quick,
12 episodes.
I could probably knock that out in a weekend.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Well, that was a good show. Next time we meet will be in 2 3. No, it'll be September 14th, I think, because I get. The good thing about my divorce decree
only
is
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Because I have them next weekend, and then I have them the weekend. So we can
3 weeks.
So either 13th Friday night or Sunday morning the 15th. We'll
figure it out.
Yeah. But all right.
That's episode 33.
Yeah. So check out all these films. You got some PTA films you can check out. Some horrible films too. Definitely Quentin Tarantino's
Once
last
Upon a Time
film.
in
Great
America.
film.
Hollywood, whatever the fuck it's called.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. All right, well, so for this episode, I'm Carlos Hernandez.
And I'm Jeremy Knight.
And we'll see you on the next one. You guys take care. Bye.